Alright, what's going on, peoples?
What's happening, everyone?
Let's start over. Alright, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen?
What's happening,
I
gatherers?
don't like that either. Alright, what's going on, Planeswalkers?
Yeah, what's up?
This is Keith.
That's Brian.
And we are Less Magic, More Gathering, and we're going to open this box of Ravnica Allegiance.
Boom!
It's completely unopened except for this little slit
Wait a minute.
where I slid in my Haunt of Hightower. So I'll let you take a look at that.
That's pretty.
And speaking of the Haunt of Hightower, tomorrow
Uh-oh.
we're going to do a deck tech video, our first deck tech for Ravnica Allegiance. And it will be based around the Haunt of Hightower.
I can only imagine what this is
So
going to be
make
like.
sure you come back. I'll have a link in the description. Hopefully I can put the link in after I do the video tomorrow. So there is that to look forward to.
Oh, yeah.
Are we ready?
I'm your box, bro.
I think
Get in there.
What we'll do is we'll just open this up, and I'll give you the packs, and you can start opening them, and I'll start showing them off.
Sounds like a wonderful idea.
There's 12,
There's another
24, 35, because I'm taking this one off the top. And there's our beautiful box. So let's dig right in. No sense wasting time.
I suck at this.
We're not going to go through all these cards. I'm skipping the commons. If you want to see all the commons in the set, go look at our set review. So we got a
Yes.
Sunder Shaman, which is the Gruul uncommon 4-drop, 2 of each color, that's continuing from Guilds of Ravnica. This one can't be blocked by more than one creature, and when it deals combat damage to a player, destroy target artifact or enchantment that player controls. So that may end up in some side. Oh my gosh, I got a Mythic.
One first pack.
Next we got Eyes Everywhere. This is an interesting card. It's a 3-drop. At the beginning of your upkeep, you scry 1, and then you can pay 6 and exchange control of Eyes Everywhere and target non-land permanent. Activate this ability only time you could cast a sorcery. So I don't know if you exchange control of something with someone, if they can then pay that cost and exchange control of whatever you took from them. I'm assuming you can.
Sure, why not?
I'm assuming that could happen since they essentially control that enchantment at that point. So I don't know how good that card is. But if you never do that, 3 costs to be able to scry every turn is okay, I guess? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Next, we've got Junk Troller.
Drunk, I like it better.
Drunk Troller. It's an 06 Defender. Tap and put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. And that's another one I really don't know how much play it's going to see. Probably not a lot. Unless somebody's building that Defender deck.
Ooh, yeah.
That'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
White-blue Defender, give you an 06 on turn 4.
That hits for 6?
That hits for 6?
Well, it doesn't hit, but it defends for 6, because you have to make them attack still. Defenders can't attack. Is there something in this set that does that?
Yeah, that enchantment makes
I thought
it so
just
that your...
deals the damage, but I didn't think they
It
could
deals
attack.
the damage and it makes it so your defenders can attack.
Oh, I just thought it was well, there you go, folks.
So it makes it into essentially a 6/6.
Well, that's stupid.
Not too shabby. Our Mythic
Uh-oh.
is probably, I feel like it's, I don't know. It's a card that you've really got to build around to make it work right. When it enters the battlefield, you create 2 0/2 blue illusion creature tokens with, whenever this creature blocks a creature, that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step.
Oh,
And
like Wall of Frost.
It has hexproof as long as you control an illusion. So, I don't know. I feel like it needs some stuff to go with it.
Yeah.
Maybe not Mythic worthy. I don't know. I guess it's okay.
Whatever. You can complain to Wizards of the Coast.
Simic Guildgate and a sweet little spirit token is what we got as our extras
Was it the
here.
Wall of Frost, or what was that creature back in the day that did that, where if it was blocked and our creature would stay tapped until next turn? Something similar to that.
Wall of Frost? I don't...
It wasn't that one. It was something that had to do with frost or ice or freeze or I don't know. Anyway.
I don't know. We got Gateway Sneak. This is a 1/3. The Vidalcan Rogue. Whenever a gate enters the battlefield under your control, Gateway Sneak can't be blocked this turn. And whenever he deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So the gate deck is going to try and become a thing.
Oh yeah, I've already played a few of those on MTG right now.
So
wasn't very happy.
I don't know if this card finds its way into that deck, or if there's others that are better. That's another one that really requires some research. Next we got Zerta Goblin. It's a 2-drop 2/2 with Riot. Pretty good card. A red and a green for a 2/2 or a 3/3. Either a 2/2 with haste or a 3/3. So that's not too bad. Is it aggressive enough for that Gruul deck? I don't know. Only time will tell. Next we've got Collision and Colossus. Collision deals 6 damage to target creature with flying, and Colossus gives target creature +4/+2 and trample until end of turn. So this one is maybe at best relegated to a sideboard somewhere, but I really just don't feel like it's enough. When you can do, what's the other one? What's the one that gives +4/+4?
Titanic Growth.
Titanic Growth gives +4/+4, and does it do trample? No. So I guess there's a couple benefits to Colossus, but will it? I mean, a lot of this is just going to take time to see what ends up in what deck. But not bad for 2-drop.
I mean, decent.
Ooh, I like this one. This is a rare. Zagana, Utopian Speaker. Legendary, 4-drop. A blue, a green, and 2 others. For a Merfolk Wizard.
Freaking Merfolks.
When it enters the battlefield, if you control another creature with a +1/+1 counter on it, you draw a card. And then it adapts 4 for 6. And each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. So for 6, it becomes a 10/10. No, 8/8 with trample. So that's pretty good. It's not bad. A 4/4 for 4 by itself is good enough. But when you count in the fact that you're surely going to have some other creatures with +1/+1 counters on it if you're playing this deck, being able to draw a card when it enters and then make all your +1/+1 creatures have trample, it's pretty good.
It's pretty mean.
Got a foil.
Foil! Uncommon.
I love the art on this. Hopefully
Ooh.
that's picking up the foiliness.
Yeah.
Bankrupt in Blood. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you sacrifice 2 creatures to draw 3 cards. I don't know. What's the card where you sacrifice 1 creature
Cost
and
of
draw
Wonder.
2? Yeah, that may be better.
The same cost. You only drawing
Same
3
cost.
cards,
You're drawing an extra card,
and you're
but
getting
you
an
have to
extra creature.
sacrifice an extra creature.
It just depends on how your deck's set up, really.
Yeah. And we got a human and an Azorius Guildgate.
Yay! Good game.
Yay! What have I done with my piles here?
Your rares and mythics are over here.
There we
And your
go.
foil, I don't know. If
My
that's
gracious.
anywhere specific, but
I'm putting it in the uncommon
it's okay. I forgive you.
stack with the rest of the uncommons.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Alright, what do we got? We got a Gruul Beastmaster. It's a 2/2 for 4 with Riot. And whenever it attacks, another target creature you control gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is Gruul Beastmaster's power. So this is one where you have to look at your board state and see what's going to be most beneficial to you. Whether you want to give it that counter or give it haste. But not a bad card. Next, we've got Galloping Lizrog. A 5-drop 3/3 with trample. But when it enters the battlefield, you can move any number of +1/+1 counters from other creatures you control and put twice that many onto Galloping Lizrog. So this can be just in the right deck, just in the game. I mean, if you've got enough counters out there, or if you've got that enchantment that makes it so that when you put a counter on a creature, you put that many counters on the enchantment, and if you have 20 or more, you win the game.
What?
Being able to take off 7 counters from other creatures that you've got and put 14 on Galloping Lizrog, I mean, that wins the game right there.
Right.
So,
Couple different options there.
being able to combo those 2 up together, I think, is a good combo. We'll just have to see what the rest of the world thinks, because nobody ever listens to me when I make decks.
It's okay, buddy.
Resolute Watchdog. He's a good boy. 1-drop defender. 1/3. You can pay 1 and sacrifice it, and target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. So I think this is going to be almost a direct replacement for what's the other one?
Sorry, what?
What's the 2/1 Dauntless Bodyguard?
Yeah.
Because this one has better defense. Obviously, it's not as aggressive. It doesn't have 2 power, but it'll survive more, and it gives you the option of choosing at the time you need it what creature gains indestructible.
Yeah.
Instead of having to choose it when it comes in, you can use that ability whenever. So I feel like it's a little bit better. Next, we've got Tome of the Guild Pack as our rare. Whenever you cast a multicolor spell, draw a card. Tap and add 1 mana of any color. So this one seems a little high priced to me, but I don't know. It's a 5-drop, and it can let you draw a lot of cards. So maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just losing my crap. If you put it in one of these, like a Gruul deck or a deck that has a lot of multicolor spells, it can definitely be beneficial to keep you from running out of steam.
Right.
So, not too bad. We got a Simic Guildgate and a Goblin token.
I'm going to cut the comments. You're going to run out of pile space.
Nice,
It's
I like
eventually
that.
going to fall. You keep
Alright.
stacking them.
Sphinx of New Prov is the Azorius version of the 4-drop 2-color creature. So 2 white, 2 blue. It's flying. It's a 4/3 with flying and vigilance. Spells your opponent's cast that target Sphinx of New Prov costs 2 more to cast. So it makes it a little bit harder for your opponents to deal with. And a 4/3 flying vigilance creature for 4 is not bad. Is it going to break the game? No, probably not. But it's not bad. Next, we've got Incubation and Incongruity. I like this card. Incubation is either a green or a blue. You look at the top 5 cards of your library, and you can reveal a creature card from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library. So it's, just like any of your other 1-drop, search for a land or creature, but this one you only get creatures. Which is fine. In the right deck, that's going to work out fine. And then Incongruity is kind of like Simic's much-needed removal spell. Exile target creature. That creature's controller creates a 3/3 green frog lizard creature token. So typically it's bad to give your opponents a 3/3 creature, but if it's a situation where it's either a 3/3 or a Golta or a whatever the worst creature out there is, then it's probably worth it to do. And in those colors, it's good to have.
Right.
Next, we've got Wall of Lost Thoughts. I'm glad I got this because this will be in the deck tech tomorrow.
Oh, it's in that deck tech, huh?
Yeah.
Sweet.
So it's a 2-drop 0/4 defender. When it enters the battlefield, your target opponent mills 4. So it's not super crazy, but it works well in the deck we're going to do a deck tech on tomorrow. And our rare is Precognitive Perception. 5-drop, draw 3 cards. And if you cast it during your main phase, you scry 3 and then draw 3. That's the card you were talking about this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can cast it as an instant anytime to draw 3 cards. Or you can cast it during your main phases and you get to scry 3 and then draw.
Which is pretty darn beneficial.
Not
gonna lie.
terrible.
Not terrible at all.
Next we've got Trollbred Guardian. 5-drop 5/5. It's a good start.
What's that mean, trollbred?
Oh no.
I don't know.
I almost died.
I heard.
So it's a 5-drop 5/5, and you can pay 3 to adapt 2, so that makes it a 7/7 for a total of 8. And then each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. So it's similar to the other creature that we looked at earlier that has the same ability. But I think the mana cost on the other one was better. So, but this could also end up in that same deck because it has similar ability. So it just kind of gives you some redundancy. Next, we've got the Orzhov version of the 4-drop uncommon creature. 2 whites, 2 blacks for a 3/4 spirit. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card, and you gain 3 life. So I feel like that's pretty good. A 3/4 for 4 is just kind of okay, but then you also strap on the discard and the life gain to it, and it becomes a little better.
Yeah.
Is it fantastic?
I don't know.
Nah, probably not. Next, we've got Fireblade Artist. This is a good one. A 2-drop 2/2 with haste, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, you can sacrifice a creature. When you do, it deals 2 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. So I've seen this a lot already in the kind of Rakdos or mono red. It's not really mono red, but it's not got a lot of black, kind of a burn type deck, where they're not necessarily trying to hit you with creatures, but they're playing creatures that are doing damage to you directly.
Right.
So then being able to sack it to do 2 more damage with Fireblade Artist is pretty good.
There's a couple other cards in this set that have that ability to will they die that deal damage or if you sack them. So that's gonna be something new too.
Yeah, being able to stack multiple creatures, like when this one dies, it does damage, and then you also get this damage, is pretty
I
good.
can see that being something effective in your own enrage type deck with your dinos. I mean, if it dies, then you can use that to hit one of your dinos. And,
Yeah,
you know,
that might be an option.
Might be an option.
Our rare is Deputy of Detention. When Deputy of Detention enters the battlefield, you exile a non-land permanent opponent controls, so any card except for a land, and all other non-land permanents that player controls with the same name as that permanent until Deputy of Detention leaves the battlefield. So it comes in, and you get to wipe out your opponent's Llanowar elves, or if they've got 4, whatever creature out there, you get to exile all of them. Or if they've used a copy spell to make multiple tokens that are copies of a creature, you get rid of the creature and the tokens that were made. So
that's it. I quit.
Not too bad.
That just
Not
ruins
too
my
bad.
favorite deck. You're gonna like this one. It's got some good stuff in it.
This is a good pile?
Yeah.
Alright, we got Rhythm of the Wild. I already like that.
Rhythm of the Wild, yeah.
This is really, 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 really good against control. Creatures you control can't be countered. So, creature spells you control can't be countered. And then your non-token creatures have Riot. So, it gives all your creatures that Riot ability. And another thing that I didn't know until recently was that if a creature has Riot, and you give it Riot with this, or any other spell for that matter, you get 2 instances of Riot. So you can put 2 +1/+1 counters, or you can put a counter and give it haste, or you could give it haste twice if you want to. I mean, I guess
double Riot?
Leave that up to you. Oh my gosh! But that's a pretty good card, especially for a 3-drop. You get that out and get it to resolve, and then it may just all your creatures coming in after that are uncounterable and have Riot. And if you can get multiple copies of this out there, then you're going to get that many more instances of Riot. So, pretty good.
That sounds like I'm going to hate a deck like that.
Yeah.
Just saying. Pretty sure I'm going to hate it.
Next uncommon is Ministrant of Obligation. It's pretty basic here. 3-drop 2/1 with Afterlife 2. But since this is the first card with Afterlife that we've seen, Afterlife just means that when this creature dies, you create, since it has Afterlife 2, you create 2 1/1 flying black and white spirits. So, like I said, pretty basic card. Not much to go over. This one is pretty cool. Cry of the Carnarium. Cry of the Carnarium gives all creatures -2/-2 until end of turn. And you exile all creature cards in all graveyards that were put there from the battlefield this turn. And if a creature would die this turn, you exile it instead. So you can kind of use this against those. Just thinking back recently, I was playing against the mono black zombie deck with the reassembling skeleton and all the stupid crap. Well, you can use this and you just completely exile all their little stuff. So that's just one example, but yeah, I see this in a lot of sideboards probably. Next, our rare is a land, Plaza of Harmony. When Plaza of Harmony enters the battlefield, if you control 2 or more gates, you gain 3 life. And then you can tap and add a colorless, or tap and add 1 mana of any type that a gate you control could produce. So this will go in that gate deck that we were talking about earlier. Probably just for the life gain ability. And I wish they would have made this a gate as well. I think that would have really made this card worth being a rare. It doesn't feel like a rare right now. But it's a card. Oh, snap!
Yeah, buddy.
Look at that.
That's pretty.
I like it. Look at that.
Oh.
Ooh, we got to show this one off.
That's a foil blood crypt.
Foil blood crypt.
That's a $23 card. Not bad. Not a bad pickup right there.
That's all right.
I got Watery Grave Foil from the last set. I was pretty pumped about.
I
So
don't think I need to talk about that one.
No.
Everybody knows
This is
what
beautiful.
that is.
It's a
Yeah.
beautiful card.
I like that. Good pile. Good pile. Keep those coming, Brian.
I'll try.
All right, we got Gyrating Wizard.
Perfect.
Gyrating Engineer is a 3-drop 1/1 that taps to add a green and a blue. I don't need to say much more about that.
That's what it does.
Vindictive Vampire is a 4-drop 2/3. Whenever another creature you control dies, Vindictive Vampire deals -1 damage to each opponent, and you gain 1 life. So this is a card that may combo well with that the blade dude that we were looking at a minute ago, Fireblade Artist, because then whenever you sacrifice a creature to do 2 damage to something, you also do an extra point of damage and gain a life. So but it being a 4-drop, I think that's a little too expensive for that card. So we'll see what happens. Next we've got Syndicate Guildmage. This one's not bad. A white and a black for a 2/2. So it's a bear. It's a bear. And then you can pay 2 to tap target creature power 4 or greater, or you can pay 5, 4 and a black, and tap it, and it deals 2 damage to target opponent or planeswalker.
Ah, I like it.
Yeah, in the right deck, this could be really good.
Oh, yeah.
Being able to tap a creature just to help yourself live a little bit longer so that it can't attack you.
Right.
That's pretty decent. And then being able to tap and do some damage to a planeswalker that might be about ready to hit their ultimate, something like that.
Especially if you can't get through with the attacks because your creatures are too small and we're going to die anyway.
Yeah.
So that's always good. Yeah, I like that one.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Next, we've got Immolation Shaman. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of an artifact, creature, or land that isn't a mana ability, it deals 1 damage to that player. And then you can pay 5, 2 reds, and 3 others. Immolation Shaman gets +3/+3 and gains menace until end of turn. This feels like something that's going to end up getting banned.
Is it a little too broken?
I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But that makes it so that like anytime somebody activates their Syndicate Guildmage, it's going to do damage. Or if somebody activates their Orazka, no, not Orazka, search for Azcanta the Sunken Ruin. That does damage to them.
That'll get crazy real quick. So who knows? We'll see.
Yeah.
Could be the next one that gets dropped off.
I don't know. I don't think it's that bad.
This next card coming up is my new favorite creature. Not really because the ability is nice, but
this one here,
just because of what kind of creature it is.
Counterspell pussies. No, sorry. 2 greens, 2 blues for Frilled Mystic.
It's an elf lizard wizard.
An elf lizard wizard.
Love it.
Yeah, Simic has some awesome creature types in this set.
I've never seen a lizard wizard.
No. An elf lizard wizard, 3/2. With flash, when it enters the battlefield, you may counter target spell. So it's like a counter spell on a stick, and it's a good body too.
One extra
3/2.
cancel, pretty much.
Yeah.
The creature that you can block with, so you can slap your dude's 1/1 life gains in the face and then counter their spells.
Yeah. So that's a good creature. I think this will be in a good deck.
Yeah,
in some
fairly useful.
Yeah, especially in that control type environment. All right, next we have Sky Tether. Sky Tether is a creature enchantment. It's an aura, and enchanted creature has Defender and loses flying. So I just feel like this is probably not going to see much play. It's a decent card, but there's just other removal that works so much better and just completely gets rid of the creature. So, whatever. Gates Ablaze. This is another one that I think will probably end up in that Gates deck because it's good removal for that type of deck. It does X damage to each creature, where X is the number of gates you control. So, if you're playing that gate-oriented deck, then you're going to obviously do a lot of damage to a lot of creatures. So, good removal. Next, we've got Amplifier as our rare. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Until your next turn, Amplifier's base power becomes twice that card's power, and its base toughness becomes twice that card's toughness. What's it say? Put the revealed cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is another one that I think could end up being pretty good. You pair this with a bunch of other big creatures, and you end up with this being humongous. If you can find a way to give it trample, which is easy. It's easy to give a creature trample usually. So being able to make this, even if it only hits like our Gravelhide Goblin over here, then at the beginning of combat, or at the beginning of your upkeep, you hit this, and this becomes a 4/4, or a 4. What it would be? It would be a 4/2. So that might not be a super good example because 4/2 for 4 is not very good. But being able to hit big creatures is going to be the goal for the amplifier. Otherwise, I mean, if you don't have it in a deck with big creatures, you're not going to get a lot of value out of it.
Right.
And then we got a Summit Guildgate and a foil Orzhov
So
Guildgate.
pretty.
Look at that. That is nice. I like that. Hopefully you guys are getting the full effect of the foils here. Alright, next pile.
Next
Alright.
little stack you got there.
Got a Gate Colossus. It costs 1 less to cast for each gate you control.
There you go. Another gate card.
Yeah, and you could essentially get this out for free.
Duh.
When Gate Colossus, it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, and whenever a gate enters the battlefield under your control, you may put Gate Colossus from your graveyard on top of your library. So this is obviously a card that's going to be able to be, what's the word? Recursive? Is that a word?
Recurring?
Recurring? That's a word too. Whatever. And if you get to the point where you've got 8 gates, you're just casting it for free, and then every time you play a gate, you're able to put it back on top of your library. So, not too bad. I don't know if it's...
8 gates is tough, though, because
yeah, I mean, that's a lot
they
of
all come in
lands.
tapped. That takes you a while to get to that point.
Yeah.
But either way, even if you have 4 of them, still a 4-drop for 8, or a 4-drop card for 8/8. That's
Yeah,
pretty
not too
stupid.
bad. Clear the Stage is a 5-drop. Target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. And then if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you can return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. There's 3 or 4 different cards in the set that have that if you have a creature power 4 or greater ability. So that's pretty decent, I suppose. -3/-3 for 5 by itself is probably not great. But if you're able to put it in a deck where you've got that 4 or greater creature on the battlefield, then
Yeah.
that extra ability I think makes it worth the mana cost. That might be a good one in like a demon deck.
Yeah, those big 6/6 demons, I mean,
Yeah.
you're guaranteed to have your 4/4 creature.
Next we've got a Sentinel's Mark. This is a 2-drop with Flash, an enchantment that gives a creature +1/+2 and Vigilance.
Oh, a Flash Aura?
And yes, a
That's
Flash
the first
Aura.
one I've seen in a while.
And it also has Addendum, so if you cast it during your turn, that creature gains lifelink until end of turn. So this one can be used in a couple different ways. I don't really think it's quite good enough to make it into standard, but maybe in a limited format. I don't know. Hey, here's another card that's going to be in our deck tech tomorrow, so I'm glad I got one. Kai's Wrath.
Yay!
Pretty basic. 2 black, 2 white. Destroy all creatures, and you gain life equal to the number of creatures you controlled that were destroyed this way.
I already hate it.
Not a lot to talk about. Yeah,
Don't you be destroying my creatures!
people are going to end up hating this card, but it's good to have in my opinion, because I'm building a deck that has this card in it, it's good to have a 4-drop board wipe back. So, alright. Next we've got Consecrate and Consume.
Real funny guy. Real funny.
Consecrate exiles target card from a graveyard and you draw a card, which is not bad for 2. And then Consume, target player sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control, and you gain life equal to its power. So I really like the Consume side of this. You know, if you've got somebody with hexproof creatures,
Sorry.
something like
good
that.
old Hexproof.
You know, if somebody's got their Carnage Tyrant, that's a real creature. Or the what's the 4-drop 6/6 one?
It's also Hexproof?
Yeah,
4-drop 6/6.
I was just talking about it. Nullhide Ferox.
Oh, yeah.
You know, this can make them sacrifice that creature. So, pretty decent removal, and then you get to gain, hopefully, a bunch of life from it. Angelic Exaltation is our next card, and I still haven't looked it up, but I'm pretty sure there was a keyword ability called Exalted, and it essentially was this. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. Just leave a comment down there and let me know if that's correct or not, but that's that card.
Sounds right.
It's going to go well in, obviously, a deck with a ton of creatures. I also pointed this out in our set review. This has got the Boros flag on here. I feel like this card really missed its set. Maybe it's been sitting around on a shelf for a few months. They had it,
and they're like, where are we going to put this?
Yeah, I don't know. But there it is. Next, we've got the Blood Mist Infiltrator. When it attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, it can't be blocked this turn. So a 3/1 body for 3 is not that good because it dies to almost anything.
But if you're token heavy,
yeah, in the right build with the right amount of either tokens or creatures that benefit from dying,
like the ones that give you 2 or 1. What's that called again?
The Afterlife.
Afterlife, yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of options with that.
There's options where that could be a decent card.
Yeah. See it being useful.
Daggone, son, we got another Blood Crypt, bitches!
We got a foil and a regular one. That's awesome.
Blood Crypts for days.
Not as cool as the Blood Crypt I have in my collection.
Alright, so next we've got an Enraged Ceratoc. Ceratoc?
Ceratoc.
I need to stop leaning on this table. I'm shaking the camera like crazy.
Probably me too. I'll watch myself.
Enraged Ceratoc can't be blocked by creatures power 2 or less. So that's not too bad for a 4/4. 4/4 for 4 that can't be blocked by creatures power 2 or less. It's not better than a 3-drop 5/4 that can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less.
Are you talking about Steely Champion?
I am.
You are.
Yeah, that's the one. But whatever, it's a card. Skatewing Spy is a 4-drop 2/3 that has an adapt 2, and that costs 6. And then each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has flying. I almost think I like this better than the creature that gives your dudes trample, but maybe using them in conjunction with one another, giving your creatures flying and trample is the best way to go about it. So,
flying trample.
That's a thing. Here's another card for the Gate deck.
The Gate deck!
Gatebreaker Ram. Gets +1/+1 for each gate you control, and as long as you control 2 or more gates, it has Vigilance and Trample. So it's easy to, that card's easy to abuse in that type of deck. The worst part about the gates is, like Brian said, they come in tapped, so it can slow you down sometimes.
But if you got time, because your opponent sucks.
Yeah, I think eventually somebody's going to find the right combination of gates and other lands to make this deck really into something.
Yeah.
And it's really just going to require sitting down and figuring out what the best gate tribal type cards are and making a deck out of them. Yeah.
I can't wait for that.
That's a thing.
That super makes me happy.
Our rare here, I like this card. I still don't know how I want to try and abuse it. Wait, this isn't the right one. Yeah, it is. No, it isn't. Yeah, it is. Incubation Druid. It's a 2-drop 0/2. You can tap it for 1 mana of any color. And it's an elf. I like that. Because most of the elves only give you green. This one will let you have any color.
Yeah.
That a land you control could produce. If it has a +1/+1 counter on it, it adds 3 mana instead. And then you can adapt 3 for 5.
Ooh.
So, I suspect that will be a good creature. All these cards can have potential to be good. It's just finding the right combination of other cards to go around them. So
it must be the Druid thing, because the other one just taps for a mana of any color.
Maybe that's it.
The one, I don't even know what it's called, but this is my next favorite card.
Sharktocrab, the fish octopus crab, a 4-drop 4/4 with adapt 1 for 4. And when 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on Sharktocrab, tap target creature an opponent controls, and it doesn't untap during its next untap step.
Not bad.
So being able to find a way to add counters to this can really shut your opponent down.
Scare out of control.
Obviously, your adaptability can't be done if it already has a +1/+1 counter on it, but there's tons of other ways to add counters to things. So this can shut your opponent's creatures off completely if you've got the right combination of cards. We got another Wall of Lost Thoughts, so that's good. We got a Spirit of the Spires. It's 4-drop 2/4 with flying, and other creatures you control with flying get +0/+1. I think, my opinion, there's other cards that do this better.
Right.
Like, what's the enchantment you were using today that gives all your flyers +1/+1?
Favorable winds?
Yeah, does it better. It's not on a creature, so it's harder to remove, and it gives +1/+1 instead of +0/+1.
But this is the one they're using with the wall, or not the wall, the defender deck, so that it gives them the +1 on their defense, which gives them in turn another strength on attack. Remember they?
Yeah, I mean, I guess
I got hit with
again,
that on MTG Arena, so
and that's what I just said too. Is any card has potential to be good, and in that particular deck, that's a good example.
Yeah. I didn't like it. I was mad.
But typically, I would say there's other options that are better. Here's the Simic Ascendancy. This is the one I was talking about earlier, where if you've got 20 counters on it, you win the game. So you pay 3, and you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So here's an option that works well with our Shark to Crab. You know, pay 3, add a counter, tap your opponent's stuff, and it doesn't untap next turn.
Shark to Crab!
So that's a good combination right there, just between those two cards. And then whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy at the beginning of your upkeep. If it has 20 or more counters, you win the game. So combining this with maybe the Shark to Crab and the Galloping Lizrog, you
There's
could
a lot
probably,
of counters going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of counters, and that can add up really quickly and get you a win. So whether or not that'll be a tier 1 standard deck, I doubt it, but it's still an option for pissing off your friends. Vindictive Vampire, I think we already saw. We did. Smelt Ward Angus. We haven't
Anus?
seen it. Anus.
Oh, okay.
Anus?
I don't know.
2-drop 2/1. Pay 3, sacrifice it, gain control of target creature with power 3 or less until end of turn, blah, 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 only when you do a sorcery. So essentially this is, what's the card? 3-drop, take somebody's stuff.
3-drop, take somebody's
Active
stuff.
treason.
Oh, active treason. Yes,
This
sir.
is an act of treason on a 2/1. So,
Yeah,
I like it.
Not bad.
There's a deck for it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And you can sacrifice this, and if you've got a Vindictive Vampire, then they lose 1, you gain 1, you steal their creature, and then if you've got some other sacrifice outlet, you can sacrifice their creature and they don't get it back. So, lots of different options. Fun cards. Clan Guildmage is a 2-drop 2/2, so another bear, and then you can pay 2, target creature can't block this turn, and pay 3, 2 and a green, and tap, and one of your lands becomes a 4/4 until end of turn.
Ooh, hello.
This one I like. It reminds me a lot of the Minotaur from Amonkhet.
Mm.
The only difference is it had haste. So if you've got something like your enchantment that gives all your creatures riot, then this is really, really similar to that. Because you can give it haste, you can make something not be able to block. That one was what was it? It was an exert. You exert it and a creature can't block this turn, a 3/2.
Yeah.
So it's pretty similar. Whether or not it will see the same amount of play as that one did, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Guardian, what is this? Guardian Project. This is it just reeks of commanderness. Is that a word?
It is today.
So whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it doesn't have the same name as another creature you control, or a creature card in your graveyard, draw a card.
Which it should in Commander, because you only got one.
Commander, you've got all
It's an automatic
singles.
draw a card. That's pretty good.
So-
Can I have that from you, since it's green and it goes in my Commander deck?
Maybe we'll work something out.
And it's an enchantment, which also goes in my Commander deck.
We'll work
That's
something out.
Specifically awesome.
And then we got a foil here. Rubble Belt
Ooh.
Recluse.
Should that be a spider? I think it's an ogre. I'm so confused right now.
Recluse is not necessarily a spider. It's just
It is to me!
like a shut-in.
Shut your mouth
think.
about that.
Here's the card we were talking about. High Alert. Each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power, and your creatures you control can attack as though they didn't have defender.
Yeah, that's just stupid.
And you can pay 4 to untap a creature. So this, like Brian said, is already being put into decks with a bunch of low-cost, high-toughness creatures.
Which there's plenty of them out there. Some may only be a 3 or a 4, but that's much more than what you think it's going to be when that card's out in the field.
Yeah, and they, like Sailor of Means. Isn't that a 2-drop, 1/4?
Yep, 1/4. I was thinking
And creates a treasure.
And it's blue. It goes right with it.
So there's lots of creatures out there that can benefit from this. I think this is just a little bit better than Arcades in that it's an enchantment, so it's harder to get rid of. It doesn't give you the card draw advantage, but being in blue, you can obviously find ways to draw cards, and it makes it so that all your creatures get that ability, not just the ones with Defender.
Right.
So, be on the lookout for this card, and if you see it, you'll know what to expect. Low cost, high toughness creatures. Next, we've got Biogenic Upgrade. This one is another one that goes probably as a 1 or 2 of in that Simic deck that we were talking about with the counters. So you distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures, then double the number of +1/+1 counters on those creatures. So if you've already got a bunch of creatures with counters on them, you can, divvy those up however you need them to, and then double the amount. And if you've got the enchantment out there, then you get that many growth counters on it, and you just get that much closer to winning the game. There's a lot of counter synergy going on, and I think that's probably a pretty easy mechanic to figure out how to abuse. So that's another one to keep your eyes peeled.
I'm gonna do it.
Tower defense. This one goes well with the high alert. Creatures you control get +0/+5 and gain reach until end of turn.
Yeah, that's a game ender.
So it gives all your creatures +0/+5.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the color combo is, blue, white, and green, but I could see that becoming a deck that is maybe not tier 1, but maybe a little more mainstream.
Yeah, the green kind of separates that factor because it's a blue-white.
Yeah.
People were using blue-white-black, I think, in the one that was against me in MTG Arena. So.
Yeah. Our rare is Theater of Horrors. This is an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you exile the top card of your library, and it stays exiled. And then during your turn, if an opponent loses life, that turn, you can play cards exiled with Theater of Horrors. So they stay exiled, and you get one added to the, it's essentially like having a separate hand. You get another card added to it every turn, and if your opponent takes any damage, then you can cast those cards. So it's pretty cool. And it's got a way to activate the, what's the ability? Spectacle? Yeah.
Spectacle?
So you can pay 4, and it deals 1 damage to target opponent or planeswalker.
That's cool.
So,
I like it.
Speaking of Spectacle,
here's another one of those cool named creatures.
Hackrobat.
The Hackrobat.
Hackrobat has Spectacle, so you can either cast it for a red, a black, and 1, or you can Spectacle cast it for a black and a red. And then you have a 2/3 that you can either pay a black to give it Death Touch, or you can pay a red and it gets +2/-2 until end of turn. So, pretty fun creature. Not bad, not bad. We've got Spire Mangler, which is a 3-drop 2/1 flash flyer. When it enters the battlefield, target creature with flying you control gets +2/+0 until end of turn. I'm going to skip talking about a lot of these that aren't really that impressive, like that one. Azorius Skyguard is a 6 cost, a blue, a white, and 4 others for a 3/3 flying first strike. And creatures your opponents control get -1/-0. It's so expensive. I just don't see it. There's other cards at that cost that are going to be better than this one. I just don't see it making it into standard. As like limited in your drafts and things, it's probably not too bad, but I just think it's too expensive for standard. Growth Chamber Guardian I like. It's a 2-drop 2/2, and then it adapts for 3, and whenever a +1/+1 counter on it is put on it, you can go search for another Growth Chamber Guardian. So you can get all these on the field pretty quickly and start making them into 4/4s, and anytime it gets a counter. You don't have to use that adaptability. So if you've got other cards that are putting +1/+1 counters on it, you can go search for more of these. So pretty cool.
Go hunt them down.
Clear the stage, we've already seen. Wilderness Reclamation is going to be the most used uncommon card from this set. Almost guarantee it. I think the price will go up too. Not a lot. I mean, it's still just an uncommon, but I think it'll be an expensive uncommon. At the beginning of your end step, you untap all your lands. So control decks and decks that have enchantments with activated abilities and things like that, they're really going to abuse these. Look out for that card. If you find them, hang on to them. Code of Constraint is a 3-drop instant. Target creature gets -4/-0 until end of turn. Draw a card. If you cast it during your main phase, it doesn't untap. And this is another one of those cards it's okay, especially like in draft and things like that. But there's other ways to deal with creatures, other removal and things that are better. So,
Right.
Then we've got Priest of Forgotten Gods. This is a 2-drop 1/2. You tap it and sacrifice 2 other creatures, and any number of target players each lose 2 life and sacrifice a creature. You add 2 black and draw a card. This is one of those cards where people have to read it just to make sure that you're not confused when you tell them how it works. You know, you've played cards like that where you'll play it and they'll go, "Can I see that? That doesn't quite..." They're doing that because they don't think it sounds right and they think you've misread the card. This is one of those. So, and this works really well with your active treason and things like that. You start pumping out a few little tokens to go along with those creatures that you're stealing, and then you start sacrificing your opponent's cards, and it's for free. You know, you don't have to pay a cost. You just have to tap it and sacrifice creatures. And then they start losing life. You get to add mana, and they have to sacrifice another creature. This card's broken.
Broken.
Just so you know.
That's when you read it and realize that they're playing it right, and you say, "Well, that card's stupid." And throw it back at them.
That's the one.
That's stupid.
It gets thrown at your neck like, "Oh, God."
Why would you hit me with a card?
Eyes everywhere, we already saw. We got a Bolrak Clan Crusher. This is a 5-drop 4/4. Tap it and remove a +1/+1 counter from a creature you control, and it deals 2 damage to any target. So this is going to go combo well with probably that Riot ability. I don't see this getting paired up with the other cards, like the Simic cards that we were talking about that have a lot of abilities to pump on +1/+1 counters. It's in the Gruul colors, so that's where it's meant to be played. I guess you could go Teamer and put something like this in to just start pumping out a little bit more damage.
Right.
But, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Rumbling Ruin. When Rumbling Ruin enters the battlefield, count the number of +1/+1 counters on creatures you control. Creatures your opponents control with power less than or equal to that number can't block this turn. So
another counter build.
Yeah, if you've got a lot of Riot creatures, or like I said, you could go into another color combo that produces more +1/+1 counters, and this can just end the game for you. You know, you drop down this 6/6, and if you've got a way to give it Riot, so it's got haste maybe, and then you just make everything that they own so it can't block, and swing in for a win, that's an option, right? Is that a thing?
I think it sounds like this card's the one. This is it, man. I gotta have this for my next.
You like this card?
Well, it goes well with the deck I was trying to put together.
Yeah, the one that you threw a fit about on live television the other day.
It wasn't quite. Yeah.
Electro Dominance deals X damage to any target, and then you can cast a creature or cast a card with converted mana cost X or less from your hand without paying its mana cost.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, so this is really good. You know, if you like the card, I gotta light up the stage setting next to me here. So you could cast your Electro Dominance for 5, and then 5. So 3 damage. So you do 3 damage, and then you get to cast Light Up the Stage for free, and you've got extra cards to cast for the next turn. So pretty good, especially if you can really ramp into some mana. I think this goes well with that, the Elf Ball type. Build up a bunch of mana using your elves, and then cast essentially a Fireball in your Electro Dominance and the what's the other one?
Banefire.
Banefire, yeah. So it's just another option that kind of does that. This one does give you that extra benefit of being able to cast another card for free.
What's the is it a it's not Nexus of Fate, or is it a Nexus that's the red one, or what's the it's not a Nexus, is it?
I don't think so, since I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Well, the Nexus of Fate does the one where you have an extra turn. What's the one the red one that's like that you play, and if you play it from your hand, you get 10 mana.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Does that coincide with that? So if you tap X enough to play that, it does whatever it does, but then you get to play.
Yeah, you could.
That would be stupid.
Yeah. And then you get 10 more mana.
Yeah.
And you can cast something else for free.
Which would be another Banefire.
Apex of Power.
Stupid. Oh, Apex of Power. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
That would be a stupid combo.
Yeah.
Doing it.
Do it.
Dang combo.
Don't talk about it. Do it. Skatewing Spy is a 4-drop 2/3 with Adapt 2 for 6. Did we see this one earlier? Yeah, it gives your creatures flying if they have a +1/+1 counter.
Yeah.
Next, we've got 10 Street Hooligans. No, 10 Street Dodger.
Where'd you get hooligans from?
It's another YouTube channel.
Wrong channel.
That was a shout out. That was a hidden shout out.
Hilarious.
I thought you were going to pee yourself.
That does not say hooligans.
1 red for a 1/1 with haste. Pay 1, and 10 Street Dodger can't be blocked this turn except by creatures with Defender. So I think this fits well in the mono red kind of aggro deck. Pretty good. Pretty good.
I like it.
Sphinx of the Guild Pact is another kind of cool card here. I've heard people asking, well, why is it gold if it doesn't cost any mana? Well, if you go right here, the first line is Sphinx of the Guild Pack is all colors. So therefore, this is a multicolor spell, so that's why it has the gold border.
Is this one of the first ones in Standard that's been like that?
It's the first one in a while that I can remember.
I know there's some older ones that have all colored cards, but that's
and then it's a 7-drop 5/5 flyer with hexproof from monocolored. So Vraska's Contempt.
Can't mess with this.
Blink of an eye. Cast down.
That's good.
Any of your one-color removal spells don't take care of this. So it either requires a board wipe or one of your
What's
multicolor.
the one that you play that deals its power to itself?
The Justice Strike.
That's 2 colors, so that'll get rid of it.
Justice Strike would do it. Mortify would take care of it. But any of your typical...
It definitely limits, that's for sure. You got to be playing against the wrong deck to have that guy removed from the field.
I'm so glad I found this. This is another one of my favorite cards from the set.
So glad I found this.
Pestilent Spirit is a 3-drop 3/2 with Menace and Death Touch, and it gives your instant and sorcery spells Death Touch. So
yeah, that's stupid.
what's the card? I think it's a 2 or 3 drop. Does 2 damage to all non-pirates.
Oh, Fiery Cannonade.
Fiery Cannonade just kills your entire opponent's board.
Oh, you got a 9/9. It's not a pirate. That's okay. We'll Death Touch the snot out of it.
It gives all of your burn spells Death Touch. So now your shocks.
So much for your Gulta.
Your shocks can take care of Gultas.
That's stupid.
If you're up against something like a Nullhide Ferox, you can pay 2 and then cast a shock to kill it. Just makes all those spells
does that take away
removal.
Hexproof?
Yeah.
For the time,
yeah.
That's hilarious.
I love that card, and I want to find a way to just really abuse the crap out of it.
Tyrant then, because
yeah,
it's the only thing you can't remove. Oh, we got that one that can remove the hexproof though.
Yeah. Detection Tower solves all problems.
There's one in this though too, isn't there? There's one that gets rid of hexproof or limits. I thought there was.
Not that I know of.
Oh well.
Light up the stage that I was talking about earlier. You exile the top 2 cards of your library, and until the end of your next turn, you can cast those cards. So this is just another good way in those aggro burn style decks where you have the chance sometimes to run out of steam. It's just a way to keep cards flowing so that you can keep casting things. And if you've dealt damage to your opponent at all, you can cast it for only 1. So pretty good card. Cavalcade of Calamity is the next one. Whenever a creature you control with power 1 or less attacks, the Cavalcade deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker it is attacking. So obviously this needs to go in a deck with a bunch of little creatures. I could see this going with your Defender enchantment that we had down there a little earlier, and making it so that you're just getting that extra damage through whenever you swing with a Defender or a creature that has low power but high toughness.
Yes.
So, it's an option. Swirling, what the heck? Swirling Torrent
Swirling Wackadoo?
is a 6-drop sorcery. Choose one or both. Put target creature on top of its owner's library, or return target creature to its owner's hand. So, this is pretty cool, but I think it's just too expensive. It feels like it's very expensive. For 6, you could just play River's Rebuke and return all their stuff to their hand.
Yeah.
So, I just don't feel like it's very good. Next. Rare. Rampage of the Clans. Destroy all artifacts and enchantments. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller creates a 3/3 green centaur creature token.
No, I hope they're not playing a heavy artifact
So
deck.
one thing that I was thinking about doing with this was playing a bunch of those 1-drop enchantments and artifacts and creating
And do it yourself.
treasures, and then casting that, killing all your own artifacts and enchantments
Have
to
an
create an
armada.
army of 3/3s.
Nice. That's a good jank way to go about it. I like it.
That's how I think. Jankosaurus Rex here.
Jank.
Gruul Beastmaster foil. We saw this earlier, so I won't go over the card, but there's the shinies for you.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Like, you've had one mythic so far.
I know.
You're killing. We're getting low. We got
They're
like
coming.
15 packs left.
Clamor Shaman. I like this one. It's a 3-drop 1/1 with Riot, and whenever it attacks, target creature an opponent controls can't block this turn. This is actually the one that I was thinking was similar to that Minotaur from Amonkhet, because
Yeah.
it has the ability to have haste or get that +1/+1 counter, and then you can use this every turn instead of having to exert it and miss a turn.
Yeah,
So,
that sucked.
This one might be better. Maybe. I don't know. We'll wait and see. Combine Guildmage is a 2-drop 2/2. Did we already go over this? Nope. You can pay a green and 1, and this turn each creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter. Or you can pay a blue and 1 to move a +1/+1 counter from target creature you control onto another creature you control. So this will benefit well with your, obviously, that Simic counter type deck, and I think that deck will probably be pretty good. I think it's going to lose a lot of the old Merfolk cards that we were used to, and probably shift more into a +1/+1 counter style deck.
Which is good for, what's his name?
Which is good for who?
The guy that makes your 1/1 counter, or counters unblockable.
Yeah.
I always forget what his name was. Anyway, continue.
The Merfolk.
Merfolk, yeah.
Yeah.
Creatures
So,
control 1/1 counters are unblockable.
I think that with a little bit of research, we can figure out how to make that deck really good. This is another one that's very situational, I guess is a good word for it. It's got to be in the right deck, otherwise it's just useless. But Font of Agonies. Whenever you pay life, you put that many blood counters on Font of Agonies, and then you can pay 2 and remove 4 counters to destroy a target creature. So obviously this has to be included in a deck that has cards in there that make you pay life. Like there's a new removal spell. I think it's a common, so I haven't seen any of them. I got a Planeswalker. But you pay 5 life or sacrifice an enchantment, and you can destroy a creature. So then you would put 5 counters on here, and you can pay 2 and remove 2 and remove 4 and kill something else. So there's a deck where this is okay, but it's got to, obviously it's useless if you don't have spells in there that make you pay life. Ministrant of Obligation is a 3-drop 2/1 with Afterlife 2. We already saw that one earlier. Pitiless Pontiff is another 2-drop 2/2, and you can pay 1, sacrifice another creature, and Pitiless Pontiff gains Death Touch and Indestructible until end of turn.
Pitiless Pontiff.
So going into maybe a red, white, black type Steel and Sack type deck would be good, because that's a pretty cheap sack outlet, and the ability that it gains is good too. So that's a good creature. I like that one. Next, we've got a Junk Troller. We went over that earlier. And we got a Kaya
Oh, snap.
Orzhov Usurper.
There's that mythic.
This one sucks. No, it's
This one sucks.
It doesn't suck. I just don't understand how to make it really good. So, I'm not going to try and explain. I'll tell you what the abilities are, but I'm not going to try and explain to you how to use this card because I haven't even figured it out myself yet. You can +1, and you exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard, and you gain 2 life if one of them was a creature. Obviously, that's good. That single ability is good when you're going up against, your zombies or your Golgari deck, things like that, because you can get those targets out of their graveyard. But hold on, let's just keep going here. -1, you exile target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 1 or less. So this will get rid of, obviously, any of your 1-drops or any tokens as well.
Right.
So that's okay, I suppose. And then you -5, and it deals damage to target player equal to the number of cards that player owns in exile, and you gain that much life. So, like I said, I'm not going to try and explain to you how to best utilize this card because I haven't figured it out myself.
We'll
But
do a quick side comment.
I got a Planeswalker.
So this card, just 5-drop 2/5 goes well in the defender/wall deck. Since it's blue as well. But it's just funny that they went way out of their way to name this creature. It's called the Homunculus, and it's a homunculus. They really went far on this one, didn't they, guys?
Yep.
Congratulations on your creativity.
Out on a limb there, wizards.
Woo!
Alright, we got a Trollbred Guardian again. Here's another pretty decent card. Drill Bit is a 3-drop, or you can cast it for 1 if you've activated the Spectacle ability. Target player reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it, and that player discards that card. So pretty simple. Foil, but it's a common. What's that card? What's the card?
Which one?
1 black, and it does that. Thoughtseize. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's 3 cost, or if you've activated Spectacle, it's just a regular Thoughtseize, which is a good card, right?
Yes.
So, not too shabby. Not too shabby. I got a Knight of the Last Breath. 7-drop 4/4. Pay 3 and sacrifice another non-token creature, and you create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying. And then this has Afterlife 3, so it's going to pump out a ton of tokens for you when it dies. Is it worth 7 though?
It is if you got, what is that card that turns all your tokens into angels? Yeah, that would be pretty good.
Yeah.
I can't think of it. We just played with somebody had it today. Forget that. Stupid card is.
It's not Divine Visitation, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Divine Visitation.
I mean, that would combine well with it, but still for 7?
Yeah, it is pricey, that is for sure.
So, whatever. Now, let's see what else we got here. We've got a Prime Speaker Vanifar. Another mythic.
That's 3. Alright, we got 3.
I can't remember what the card is that does this. There's another card that does this ability. But anyway, Prime Speaker Vanifar is blue, a green, and 2 others for a 2/4, and it allows you to tap and sack another creature, and then search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrificed creature's converted mana cost. Put it into the battlefield, and you can only do that when you when you could activate a sorcery or cast a sorcery. So this is fine. Is it going to be really good in Commander? I think it could be really good. I think it could be really good Commander. In Standard, it really takes the right deck or some kind of jank to make it work.
I'm sure I'll see it against me in MTG Arena and get my butt whooped.
It could happen.
It'll happen.
Yep. So I like it. Me being primarily a Standard player, I don't know how good it's going to be, but definitely a cool Commander. And then we got a foil Rakdos Roustabout. Yeah. Something like that. Roostaboot. Alright, we got another Bankrupt in Blood. We looked at that earlier. Incubation and Incongruity. Another Wall of Lost Thoughts. That deck's really coming together. And we got a Sphinx of Foresight. You may reveal this card from your opening hand, and if you do, you scry 3 at the beginning of your first upkeep. It's a flying, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you scry 1. This one is another one that I think is really good, especially for maybe like your control builds to run alongside a Search for Escanta, so you're really getting to scry and search for what you want. And then at the beginning of the game, if you've got one of these in hand, you get to set up your first 3 turns. So I like it.
That's a pretty good card.
I don't play a lot of control, but at least not like counterspell type control. Yeah, I would run that if I did. Vindictive Vampire we saw earlier. Fireblade Artist we did as well. Flames of the Raised Boar we haven't seen. This is a 6-cost instant. It deals 4 damage to target creature and opponent controls. Then it deals 2 damage to each other creature that player controls if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. So, like I was talking about earlier, there's a few cards that give you a little extra benefit if you have a creature power 4 or greater. And if you combine this with the little demon, or the witch, or the whatever the hell we were looking at earlier, that gives all your instants and sorceries Death Touch, that's a board wipe. So, just another option. This is another jank card that I'm going to try and figure out how to just bust. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you flip a coin until you lose the flip. And for each flip you win, you create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste, and you exile them at the beginning of the next turn. So yes, it's probably not going to end up in any competitive decks, because there's the chance this never does anything for you, and 6 cost is too expensive for that to happen. But I'm going to have some fun with this card and use it in our little circle of players. So something that can be fun. Orzhov Racketeers is our next one here. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card. This has Afterlife 2. So, probably a little expensive, but it's not a bad card either. Then we've got Terramander. 1/1 flyer for 1 with Adapt 8. And it costs 1 less for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard. So, not bad. Adapt 4 for 8. Night of the Last Breath we went over earlier. Hey, another land. Stomping Grounds.
Good old Stomping Grounds.
Good old Stomping Grounds. Bullrack Clan Crusher we went over. Trollbred Guardian as well. Sentinel's Mark we've seen. This is another fun one.
I know.
Mass Manipulation.
I was like, that's so nasty.
Gain control of X target creatures and or planeswalkers.
Costs a heck of a lot to play, but
yeah,
man.
I mean, it really, I don't feel like is worth it unless you're being able to cast this for, 3, which would be 10 mana total. But being able to take over that many different creatures and planeswalkers all at the same time is pretty sweet.
I like this one.
Light Up the Stage. We've seen that. Gyre Engineer we've seen. Gatebreaker Ram we've seen. We got another Mythic.
Domri.
We got the other Planeswalker here. Domri Chaos Bringer. This one I like better and I understand how it works. So this one definitely needs to go in a deck with a bunch of creatures. It's a +1. You add a red or a green, and if it's spent to cast a creature spell, then that creature gains Riot. So that's pretty good. -3, you look at the top 4 cards of your library, and you may reveal up to 2 creature cards from among them and put them in your hand. So this -3, I think, is really pretty good, but it has to be in a deck that has enough creatures to benefit it. Otherwise, it's going to whiff a lot, and you may not get anything from that minus ability, and that's bad. And then the -8, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of each end step, that's your turn and your opponent's, you create a 4/4 red and green beast creature token with trample. So if you can get this to ultimate, it's really good. It's going to start pumping out creatures, and if you've got some ways to give them riot and things like that, they can have haste, and they can get counters, and I think I like this Planeswalker. I like Domri better than I do Kaya. We'll just have to see how it all plays out.
Sorry, that's a willow first.
Rally of Battle gives your creatures +1/+3 until end of turn, and you untap them. So this one again pairs well with that enchantment that bases your creatures' attack power on their toughness.
Oh yeah.
So pretty decent. Scrabbling Claws is an artifact. You can tap. Target player exiles a card from their graveyard, or pay 1 and sacrifice it, and exile target card from a graveyard and draw a card. This is another one that I just feel like there's better options in all formats.
Right.
If you're just looking for 1/1 artifacts that you can blow up and turn into 3/3
That's one of
centaurs, that might be a decent one.
That one bit right there.
But outside of that, I really think there's better options. Spirit of the Spires, we looked at earlier. What the heck is this?
That's a creature, isn't it?
Lavinia, Azorius
Lavinia.
Renegade, a 2-drop 2/2. Each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with converted mana cost greater than the number of lands that player controls. So this is going to shut down a lot of your ramp type decks that are using mana dorks and things like that. They can't cast those spells anymore. Well, non-creature versions of those spells, like we were talking about earlier with Banefire and things like that, where they want to use mana dorks and other sources of mana rocks to make that huge. Well, they can't do it anymore. It counters, or no, they just can't cast it for more than the mana they've got. So that's pretty good. And then whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. This is I think this is meant to be more of like in another format, you know, because Modern, Legacy, different formats like that have more options for casting things for free, and it's going to shut those kind of decks down. So in Standard, this is probably not fantastic, but in other formats, this will probably be a really good card.
Right. Sounds like it.
Pitiless Pontiff we saw, Gate Colossus. What is this? Cult Guildmage? We didn't see that, did we?
Did we?
2-drop, 2/2, pay 4, target player discards a card. Activate this only when you can do a sorcery, or pay 1 and it deals 1 damage to target opponent or planeswalker.
Did you call those a bear?
Yeah. Your original Grizzly Bears, it was a 2-drop, 2/2. So
But then nothing else with it? Or did
it was just a vanilla creature.
Mm.
So this is a bear with abilities attached to it.
Bear.
I like the 1 red, deal 1 damage, just because it'll activate your spectacle cost for everything else.
Oh, yeah.
So
for sure.
not too bad. And our rare is a Hero of Precinct 1. Whenever you cast a multicolor spell, you create a 1/1 white human creature token. So a 2-drop, 2/2 again. So another bear with an ability.
It is.
And this one will go well, again, only if it's in the right deck. It has to be supported by spells that are multicolored for it to work, but in the right combination of cards, this could really start pumping out a lot of tokens for you. This card's annoying. Quench.
It's a pretty foil, though.
Yeah, very cool foil. Quench is a 2-drop counter spell unless they pay 2. I'm looking at the foil and not concentrating on what I'm saying.
Who cares? It's coming.
So there's that. Common. There you go. Alright. Sunder Shaman can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, destroy target. We already looked at that one. Regenesis. 5-drop instant. Return up to 2 target permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. I think, again, this is one of those where there's other things that do this better, especially for the cost.
Right.
But being an instant spell, it's not bad, I guess, if you've got a way to produce the mana. 5 just seems kind of expensive, I think. It's my opinion, and I'm probably wrong. Oh, another Mythic. When Forbidding Spirit enters the battlefield, until your next turn, creatures can attack you or a planeswalker you control, unless their controller pays 2 for each of those creatures. I think I would have liked for this to have been more expensive and maybe less on the power and toughness, but have that be a permanent ability.
Right.
But it only lasts 1 turn, so it's not fantastic. But maybe in the right deck, you know, maybe you just need that extra turn. If you find yourself consistently losing on turn 3 or 4, and you need something like this to get you that one extra turn, then maybe it's worth trying out and see how it works. I like this one. Skargan Hellkite.
Yes.
Skargan Hellkite is a 5-drop 4/4 with Riot, so it can either be a 5/5 or a 4/4 with Haste. And then it's a flying dragon. You can pay 4, and it deals 2 damage, divided as you choose among 1 or 2 target creatures. And you can only activate that ability if it has a +1/+1 counter on it. So if you're at a point where all you need is 4 damage, obviously you don't put the counter on there. If you maybe need a good defender, but then you can activate that ability later, then this is perfect. So it's very versatile, and it's right on the right, power level for its mana cost. I think it's a really good card.
It's nice.
I like it.
I do too.
Maybe we'll look back into rebuilding the dragon deck.
Rebuilding the dragon deck.
Got another Bankrupt in Blood. Enraged Ceratok, we saw that. Dovin's Acuity is new. It's an enchantment, and this is the disinformation campaign of Azorius, essentially. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and draw a card, and then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery during your main phase, you return it to your hand. So, it's same mana cost and essentially the same ability. It does different things, but instead of making your opponent discard a card, you gain 2 life, and both of them let you draw a card. So, pretty good card, pretty cool. I see Disinformation Campaign on Arena all the time, so we'll just have to wait and see if this card ends up being just as popular. And probably my favorite card in the whole set, so I'm glad I got one of these. Ethereal Absolution. Ethereal Absolution.
There you go.
There we go. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-1. And you can pay for exile a creature card from your opponent's graveyard and create a 1/1 flyer. That's essentially how I read it. The words on the card are different. It lets you exile any target card from your opponent's graveyard. But if it is a creature, you create a 1/1 black and white flying spirit, which is then a 2/2 because the enchantment gives it +1/+1. Yeah, like I said, this is one of my favorite cards in the deck, and I don't even the deck on Arena that I've been using this in, it's not even really built for this card, but this card has won me multiple games on its own. So
really nice.
Yeah, building around this card could make it way better than what I've seen it be. So I think this is going to be a really good card to keep your eyes out for. Sphinx of New Prov, we saw. Drill Bit, we saw. Carnival and Carnage, we haven't. Carnival deals 1 damage to target creature or planeswalker and 1 damage to that permanent's controller. Carnage, for 4, deals 3 damage to target opponent. That player discards 2 cards. So that Carnage is a really cool ability.
Carnage.
3 damage and making them discard 2 cards for 4 is really good.
Kind of mean.
Yep.
Nothing.
And the Carnival side will activate your Spectacle costs for you. And our rare here is Warrant and Warden. Warrant, you put target attacking or blocking creature on top of its owner's library. And Warden, you create a 4/4 white and blue Sphinx creature token with flying and vigilance. Both of those abilities are pretty decent, so pretty good card. Then we've got Depose and Deploy. I don't think we've seen this one either. Depose, tap target creature, draw a card. Deploy, create 2 1/1 Thopters, and then you gain 1 life for each creature you control. So this is one that it's pretty specific on the deck it has to be in, as far as the deploy side's concerned, because you have to have something that's going to benefit from a bunch of creatures, or a way to get more benefit from that card. Does it make sense?
Makes a sense, guy.
And then Depose, that can be pretty versatile, really. Being able to tap a creature just to get yourself that 1 extra turn and then draw a card for 2, that's not bad.
I mean, yeah, it's essentially like playing blink of an eye without putting it back in their hand and paying the extra cost to draw the cards.
Yeah.
So.
It just makes it so that they can't use it that turn.
Yeah.
We've got a Silhana Wayfinder, 2-drop 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library, reveal a creature or land from among them, and put it on top of your library. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I don't know how much I like this. I guess for 2 it's not bad. If you think about other cards that are similar, they would have you put it in your hand, but they would usually cost more too. So, what's the elf that, when it comes into play, you look at the top 4 for a land and put it into play? But that one costs 3. So, it's probably about right on the power level.
Yeah.
And this will let you get a land or a creature, so...
Gives you the creature option, so that's nice.
Yeah.
A bit different than...
I think it's okay. I at first I didn't like it because it went on top of your library. But in the right deck, that might be fine.
You don't have to reveal if it goes in your library, right?
You do have to reveal it so that...
dumb.
Well, so your opponent knows you didn't put an instant or sorcery or something on there.
That's true, I guess.
Next, we've got Essence Capture. This is 2 blues. Counter target creature spell. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to one target creature you control. I hate counter spells. Moving right along. Next, we've got Revival and Revenge. Revival puts return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Revenge, double your life total. Target opponent loses half their life, rounded up. So, man, that's a lot. That can do a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really versatile. In any kind of life gain type deck where you're getting benefits from gaining life, you would miss with this because you don't gain that life. It just doubles your life total. But if you're playing a kind of slow deck that needs a way to stabilize once you've gotten things going, this might be a really good option.
Yeah, it's always nice having the 2 different options. You just never know what's going to work best.
Yeah. We got another Rhythm of the Wild. We got another Smelt Ward Ingus. We got another Clan Guildmage. And our rare here is a Cindervines.
What? A Cindervines?
Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, Cindervine deals 1 damage to that player. Pay 1 and sacrifice it. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Cindervine deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller. So that's not bad for 2. Got another Thrilled Mystic. Got another Wilderness Reclamation, so that's good. Code of Constraint, I think we looked at earlier as well. Tome of the Guild Pack, we saw that rare. We've got 2 of those now. Alright, is this the last pack?
I believe so, sir.
Alright, let's hope it doesn't suck. Gateway Sneak, we saw. We got another copy of High Alert. We got another copy of Carnival and Carnage. And you should have given me a bomb deck for the end.
Well, I didn't. You got your Mythics, didn't you?
And our rare here is Thrash and Threat. Did we see this one either earlier? Thrash. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. Now I like this at a 2-cost instant spell. We were talking about this earlier, kind of comparing things like Prey Upon and what's the one you were using? Savage Stomp. Trying to figure out which way was the best way to go. And this is good. I mean, it's only a 2-cost. It's got multiple options as far as your mana is concerned. It's instant speed, and I love that the creatures don't fight. Yours just kills theirs. You don't have to.
It's kind of like a mutiny that you get to use. Because mutiny is their creature's power to another creature they control. This one is yours to theirs.
Yeah. So that's not bad.
I kind of like that.
I do too. I like it. I like that it's instant speed, only 2 costs, and you don't have to worry about your creature getting killed. So you can use this against things that have Death Touch and Lifelink, and it's not going to hurt you.
And if you decide you don't want to do that or don't need to do that, you can put yourself a 4/4 Trampler out there.
Yeah. Threat is create a 4/4 for 4.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
Not a bad
So
call.
let's look here and see. I'm going to try and figure out really quickly what our best cards were without taking a month and a half
best
to do it.
Is these cards good for gameplay or high value cards?
Just both.
Well, your foil
Domri,
Blood Crypts up there.
The lands. Another one. Blah blah blah. I love that card. So Blood Crypt's good. Kaya's Wrath's pretty decent. Foil Blood Crypt's better. So just real quickly running through here, I think we did pretty
Foil
good.
Blood Crypt's
Foil
better.
Blood Crypt. We got a Kaya's Wrath, a regular Blood Crypt, this crazy bitch. We've got one of each of the Planeswalkers. Got another Shockland. Got my favorite card in the set. Got a Riot Dragon, and we got a Mass Manipulation. So 3 Mythics is what we pulled.
That is what you pulled, sir.
I pulled? You didn't pull nothing.
I said that is what you pulled.
I know. I'm looking to see. There's another one. Prime Speaker Vanifair is another one. So we got 5 Mythics. The first card, Mesmerizing.
You didn't get a Hydroid Crassus. That's your $15 non-land card.
Yeah.
Spawn of Mayhem. I don't think you get that either.
Doesn't sound familiar.
Angel of Grace. You didn't get that. Prime Speaker Vanifair. That's right there. That's 14. That's not bad.
All right.
Domree's a 13.
All right.
So you're doing pretty good right there. That's not bad. Plus your Blood Crypt. Didn't get a Dovin. He's 10. Skargan Hellkite's 10.
Yeah.
Another Dovin. Just looking at the values here. I'm scrolling down the list. Dang, get out of here. Stomping Grounds 8.3.
I got one of those.
Blood Crypt 8.
I got one of those.
Yeah. We're getting down to Domri City Smasher, or did you have the other Domri you had? Which one did you have? You had the non-City Smasher.
Chaos Springer.
Okay, so we already saw him. Did you have Seraph of the Scales? I don't believe so. No Judith.
Nope.
Electro Dominance you had, that's about $8.
Okay.
Kaya, Orzhov Usurper.
Yep.
Okay, $7.40.
So not
Growth
terrible.
Chamber Guardian, $6.56. So you got some decent ones. You got some pretty good ones.
Yeah. There it is.
I'd be happy about it. I was going to comment on this one. This Prime Speaker Vanifair, just her creature type. She's an elf ooze wizard. Like, what the fuck is an ooze wizard? Like, seriously? Come on!
An ooze wizard.
I want to be an ooze wizard when I grow up.
I bet you do.
What about an ooze lizard wizard?
Ravnica Allegiance, folks.
You guys got some creative names here.
Got a couple days before we do our anniversary giveaway video.
I'm so excited!
I think right now, as we record this, we're not quite there, but we're going to get there, so...
we believe in you guys.
Definitely we'll post that video when it's ready. I think we're done for today, though.
We are, man.
Let's see them fingers.
Deuces!
Deuces!